breaking down the inception and the destruction of the planet that's acclimated to the plutonium energy that's going to be hitting the planet in 2023, that's connected to the 24,000-year equinox, which is predicated upon the sun cycle and the lunar cycle, as we have the resurgence of the crystal city through the gates of the gods, the Anunnaki, inside the Grand Canyon, right? So with all that shit being said, we're going to break this shit down from Vedic numerology, astrology, cosmology, and theological context. So when Rashad Jamal said that you can get to Africa through the Grand Canyon, he was right on that perspective, but he did not elaborate on that perspective. That's because the Grand Canyon contains concentric interstellar vortex portals that's in alignment with the Sirius star constellation, right? Because that was the inception of how the planet was basically revitalized. So let me get my screen share going. So first, we're going to start out with some theological context, because it's imperative that you understand the dynamics of theology when you're talking about these monotheistic belief systems, because it basically works in synergy of everything that's going on the planet right now. Because like I told you, it's a Freemasonic playbook for the end of the verification period of the 6,000-year mandated cap of the beast, of the matrix system. So first, we're going to start out with some scripture when you're talking about the book of Genesis. So when you go to the book of Genesis, right, it says, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. So now this is also showing you that that God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. So that's basically denoting the fact that God of the Bible, who was Lucifer, separated the intergalactic waters from the third dimension, right? So now when you go to to the tablets, now when you go to the holy tablets, this is basically denoting the fact that the moon was once a piece, was a part of the planet Earth. They both worked in symbiotic connection. So when Satan, or God of the Bible, separated the intergalactic waters from the third dimension, this was basically created an atmosphere, and which created a fermented dome, the galactic frozen waters that puts, you know, the shields us of solar radiation that's going to hit the planet. So now, once the moon broke off 23 billion years ago, that's what created this artificial beta simulation of reality that is controlled by the Saturn moon matrix. So the moon that we have in our universe right now, that is basically a moon base called that is basically working with the Green Beret and the Black Beret. And the Green Beret and the Black Beret is basically Ashtar Command. Ashtar Command is basically an amalgamation of Draconians, Pleiadians, and humanoid grays, which is basically the Majestic 12. So once the moon broke off, I'm going to show you an illustration. So once the moon broke off from planet Earth, this what basically created the atmosphere. So you got to understand the inception of how everything was created to where everything is going on right now, because it's all going to piece up together once you understand what I'm, you know, displaying to you guys. So this is showing you an illustration of when the planet was when the moon and the earth broke off, which created some type of a dichotomy, a spiritual dichotomy on the planet. So once this, you know, the planet and the moon broke apart, this is what created a hole. So when you're talking about the city of Shambhala, which means the scent of Allah, and Argarta, which means through the hole. So once that hole was created, this is where you got the North and the South Pole was created, right? So when you're talking about hollow earth. So when you go to this illustration right here, this is what, you know, when the moon, the breaking of the moon, this is what created the aspect of the fact that we have a central sun in the middle of it, which created, you know, intrinsic life forces when you're talking about all these subterranean kingdoms that's inside the planet, right? So now when you go to back to the Genesis in the Bible, it says, he talks about the aspect of let there be light. Yeah. So when God said two great lights rule the day and one lesser light rules the night. So that's basically talking about the breaking of the moon. So in order for the planet to revitalize itself, Nibiru, when it entered this galaxy, right? when it entered this galaxy, because now when you go back to the Holy Tablets, when the Nibiru entered this galaxy, that's what caused an extraction of plutonium bombs, because the plutonium bombs is what created, you know, the separation on the planet. So when you're talking about the divide, this is when you got the moon. Now you got the sun from a rogue planet called the mothership, which is Nibiru. This is when you got the sun called Ashfu, which is called Sol, which is Soul, right? So now, once the moon broke off, this what created a revitalization process. So when God said, "Let there be light," right? Nibiru shot a ball of energy, a ball of lightning to planet Earth to revitalize the planet, to fix it, due to the extraction of plutonium bombs. So where's the other illustration? So now when you go to the Holy Tablets again, it says this ball of light is now in the center of Tiamat, which is called Asfu, meaning the one that exists from the beginning. So now this inner sun that's inside the planet is 600 miles in diameter, and it created some type of tetrahedron energy force that basically creates an amalgamation of life forces on the surface of the Earth, right? So once the Anunnaki, the mothership, the Crystal City, because these are different nomenclature titles when you're talking about the mothership or Nibiru or the Crystal City, they're basically one and the same. So when the Anunnaki, when they shot that ball of energy, that lightning, when God said, "Let there be light," when you talk about the Bible, when God said, "Let there be light," when he shot that energy inside the planet, that's what created the mending of the planet, which created a binding force of voids that, you know, they healed the planet to where human life and intrinsic vegetation and animals and protoplasts and stuff like that, all that can take place once the planet was basically fixed due to the plutonium energy during the first sun cycle. Because the inception of the planet in itself, the destruction happened in the first 6,000 years. What you're looking at right now, you got a 6,000 year sun cycle, moon cycle again, and now you're in the last sun cycle, which is the last reincarnation phase. So that's why everything on the planet, all these calamities, all these, you know, hedonistic concepts from the government, all these afflictions on the planet, this is why it's happening right now, because it's the end of the 6,000 years. So that's why the history of the Bible starts at 4004 BC, which is basically the symbology of the birth in Canaan. Canaan is the cursed seed, and the cursed seed is not acclimated to the 6,000 year, the last 6,000 year sun cycle, because that is the personification of the Aquarian age, right? So now when you understand the dynamics of that, of the 24,000 year equinox, during the first 6,000 years, that's when the plutonium energy destroyed the planet. But the plutonium energy in this next 6,000 years that we're going through right now in the Aquarian age, that's going to basically destroy the planet again, because that's basically the personification of Alpha and Omega, because Nibiru comes from the 19th galaxy, 1 and 9, Alpha, Omega, the destruction and the rebuilding of something on the planet. So now when I'm showing you an illustration, so this is when Nibiru shot that ball of energy inside the planet. So this, like I said, the 600-mile sun into the Earth, and this is how Earth received this central sun, and that central sun healed the planet from the plutonium energy. So now we understand the dynamics and the science behind these cartoons and stuff like that. These cartoons basically understand the metaphysical and esoteric science of our natural knowledge. Because when you understand, there's a cartoon on Disney when you got the cartoon character Pluto. Pluto is a dog. So when you understand, Pluto was basically an anagram for the word God, because they had a dog playing the character Pluto. They had a dog playing it, and dog is an anagram for the word God. So they understand your science while keeping you in darkness, because they know you don't understand the dynamics of what happened in the beginning when you're talking about those plutonium bombs, right? So now this basically all coincides with everything that's going to be going on the planet uh, very soon. So once that sun went inside the planet, which created the abyss, that sun, when it came down to revitalize the planet, and basically entered inside the Grand Canyon. Because I told you the Grand Canyon is basically a concentric interstellar vortex portal, which connects you to everything on the planet, because this is where the first pyramids was built at, right? So when you understand the dynamics of that, so when the planet healed itself, this is where the sun was projected to, because that's where the Grand Canyon is at. So now when you understand that, because I told you 19 is very prevalent, because I told you the Grand Canyon is in alignment with the Orion star constellation, which is the 19th galaxy. So now when you go to Pluto, because I told you the Pluto is what destroyed the planet. Now we're going through another destruction phase for a revitalization phase. So now when you go to when Pluto enters Aquarius in March 23rd, 2023, that's going to be the inception of everything on the planet. How we're going to reap the benefits, reap the negative benefits of destruction. I mean, it's going to be for a chosen few. When you're talking about the 144,000, you're going to have some people. This is going to create the great separation of everything that people was talking about. You're going to have a lot of the death and destruction and desolation on the planet once Pluto enters Aquarius, because when you understand the dynamics of that, that's where tomorrow, which is October 24th, October 25th, that is the Scorpion energy. That's basically going to be the segue to the gates and the portals for the plutonium energy that enter the planet, which is basically the divine feminine energy. So now, when you're talking about January 1st to September 1st, that is basically 9 months apart. So you got the number 9. Then you got one from September 1st back to January 20th. That's the number 19, which is, like I told you, 19 is very prevalent when you understand Vedic numerology. Then you go from then you got November 19th, you got number 19 again. So now, and you go to Pluto, it says that Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 19 years. So I told you, because that's basically the symbology of creation and destruction, the destruction of a matrix system that was controlled by the beast for 6,000 years, right? And also, you got to understand that the portal that, these portals is going to be opening up these solar eclipses, because solar eclipses are basically portals. It's going to be opened up for 6 months. That is a 6-month divine feminine energy that's going to be hitting the planet. So now what's going to happen when Pluto enters Aquarius? When Pluto enters Aquarius again, this is where you're going to have, it's a representation of destruction. It's a representation of death. It's a representation of rebirth. It's a representation of revolution and rebellion on the planet. So that's why it's imperative to understand that, the metaphysical, esoteric breakdowns in these movies, because everything they do, is for a reason. So now when you go to this movie right here, The Watcher, it's imperative that everybody watches this movie, because it talks about blood rituals and things of that nature. So blood rituals and things of that nature. You need to see that movie, The Watcher, because when you go to, let me go to it. There's a part in the movie here. There's a part in the movie where it shows, if I can find it. Yeah, there's this part in the movie where he says that in this country, the crisis is always war. So we're going through rumors of war when you're talking about World War III and things of that nature. Now you got to look at that last video, not the last video, but it's a video I put out like 3 months ago, and I was talking about the personification of the fact that World War III is actually a spiritual war with a false perception of being a physical war. So now it says in this country, a crisis is always war. Now it's imperative that, you know what I'm saying, you guys see this movie, to see this. I think this part is in episode 3. And then it's another part of the video where he says that he's talking about the secular periods of 80 years. Where's that? He says that in the if I can find the rest of the video, illustrations. But anyhow, he says that, you know, the crisis of war works in a seculum of 80 years. So from Civil War to World War I, that was 80 years. And he says in his part in the movie, he said that, you know, we're at the end of the 80-year cycle, because from 1945, which was World War II, all the way up into 2025, that is exactly 80 years. And then he goes on to say that something is about to happen. Matter of fact, I think I got a part of it here. Nope. Matter of fact, I gotta find it, because he says verbatim that something is about to happen. I want you, you guys to watch that movie, because like I said, that everything they do is basically in a form of symbolism, because that's part of the ritualistic dynamics that's going to happen on the planet. Because like I told you, in the movie, he says that, everything works in the 80-year seculum. So you got from 1945 to 2025, that's exactly 80 years. Now, this is a diagram of in a projection of the population forecast in 2025. And this is off a government website, these numbers. So something is going to happen. So it's showing you that, these are population reduction percentages. So they already got it projected by 2025, the United States of America is going to lose 68.5% of its population. The United Kingdom is going to lose 77.1% of its population. It's imperative that you guys screenshot this. Screenshot all of this, what I'm showing you right now. So this is basically showing you by country of how the population is going to be condensed down. Now, you got to ask yourself why they want to condense the population down. Because it all basically works in synergy with the alien agenda, the 2029 alien agenda. So I need y'all to understand, this is Phil Schneider. They killed this man for the level of information that he was putting out when he was talking about how everything that's going on right now. He's basically talking about it in his lectures in this video. So I'm gonna show you a clip here.
Now, I'm going to casually mention to you something that's very scary indeed, and tell you what the alien agenda is. It's going to sound very familiar. The alien agenda is the complete takeover of this planet, the killing off of 5, 6 to 7/8 of the world's population by the year 2029. U.S. military has known about this for 45 years. It told no one. As far as I know, I'm the only person standing before a crowd talking about the alien agenda secretively.
See, all this works in synergy, man, because that coincides with Agenda 2030. Because I told you, you know what I'm saying? Because they understand that, you're going to have an extraction period that's going to take place, that's going to be activated by the Crystal City. Because the Crystal City basically works in symbiotic connection with the 144,000 and 144,000 crystals in your brain called the magnetites and dendrites. Now, what do crystals do? They extract and absorb energy. So once you have an extraction take place, I'm gonna show you this video. An extraction is basically an amalgamation of rainbows all around the planet, which is where you're going to get the personification of your so-called rapture that is activated by the crystal city. In the crystal city, once it lands or resurges from under the planet or from the atmosphere, this is where you're going to get your so-called rapture way before, you know, the population is reduced down, when you're talking about all this calamity and the rumors of war and everything that's going to be happening on the planet. So this is taken in Jamaica, this video I'm going to show you. You know what I'm saying? You can see the rainbow right there. That's extraction. But you see how they perverted the rainbow. They try to make it seem like it's something that has something to do with sexual proclivities and alternative lifestyles, when it's really talking about a metaphysical force that's taking place. When you're talking about how you got shams that's on the planet that come from the mothership, the Crystal City, and these motherships and crystals, I mean, these motherships and these shams are basically can transmute itself and go into fourth octave ether. So that's why it's able to cloak itself in the form of a cloud when you're talking about these so-called UFOs. So when we go to, there's something else I need to show you. It's another video I have. Because this is, like I said, all this works in synergy of everything that's happening on the planet right now. So this is another video I'm going to show you, because you got to understand, like, why are they trying to prepare everything for 2025? Why are they doing all this stuff? Why are they changing the frequency and the octave radiation of light? That's because what you got to understand is that the vast majority of these lights they putting in all around the planet contains an octave radiation frequency, and the blue light causes some type of amino acid called tryptophan. And tryptophan, it basically activates the draconian DNA inside your body, because it, you know what I'm saying, it intensifies those draconian inoculation shots they was implementing back in 2020, if you know what I'm talking about. So you look at all these blue lights, because the UV radiation of the blue light basically intensifies draconian DNA. So that's why they said that, you know, during the pole shift is going to activate cannibalism. So now you're trying to understand, now you see why they try to socialize people through the movies, talking about cannibalism when you're talking about Jeffrey Dahmer. And they just put out a goddamn pizza not too long ago talking about you can eat a pizza, you know what I'm saying, called the Jeffrey Dahmer special. So now, like I said, look at this. You can see now how the blue lights, you know what I'm saying, it's on buses, it's all around the planet, because like I said, the blue light is what intensifies these negative frequencies, the tryptophan enzyme inside your biological structure, because it's conducive to reptiles. So that coincides with what Phil Schneider was talking about when you're talking about the alien agenda by 2029. Because these draconians, they tired of living under the surface of the earth, because you got different layers inside the planet. They want to come to the surface and rule the planet again. So like you got different types of these blue lights, these synthetic lights, you know, yeah, UVC light is not required for reptiles, right? So they trying to cloak themselves. So with all that shit being said, when you have the, you know, there's one more illustration that I need to show you guys. Now, so you got to understand there's a metaphysical aspect of, you know, the Crystal City. You know, the crystal city in itself is basically it's a cube shape. It's been caught on camera, according to Dr. York. So right now, what you're looking at is basically an amalgamation of squares. And those squares, like I told you, the squares is basically conducive to subatomic particles to combat the Saturn Moon matrix subatomic particles, to where the spiritual forces and the divine feminine energy can take place on the planet to balance out the spiritual equilibrium, right? So the reason for the sensation or the sensationalism of the crystal city is basically is going to cause a dimensional shift to happen in space, and it's collapsing to create a new dimensional time. Because the new dimensional time, when you understand the 144,000s in your brain called the magnetites and dendrites, that's connected to the Bathari gland. The Bathari gland, when you break down the etymological roots of the word bara in Bathari gland, it means a new space and time. So that's going to activate the 5D mind. So when you're talking about the Christ consciousness from the Holy Ghost particles, the intrinsic sunlight from the crystal city, right? So it says that space is collapsing to create a new dimensional time. Conversely, space is collapsing to create a new dimensional reality, and it's up for grabs. And it says that a vortex that opens up every 10 years and time is speeding up, you get caught up in time, right? So like I said, everything, you know what I'm saying, everything is happening right now is basically in the form of prophecy. Because I told you, you know what I'm saying, once this crystal city reemerges, once the crystal city reemerges, it's gonna be inside the Grand Canyon, whether it's coming from under the surface of the earth or coming from the atmosphere. Because, you know, once these galactic waters and everything, they destroyed by, you know, the ozone layers being depleted, you know what I'm saying, the veil is thinning out. So that's because the vast majority of these pyramids inside the Grand Canyon, when you're talking about the Cheops temple, the Isis pyramid, the temple of Sheba, all these temples and these pyramids inside the Grand Canyon, they're in alignment with the Orion star constellation, which is basically the 19th galaxy. And the 19th galaxy is your so-called, when you're talking about the heavens, right? And every pyramid on the planet is an energy center to balance out the planet, and they all in alignment with the Orion star constellation. But it's very imperative that you understand that the inception of the planet revitalizing itself is what, you know, it happened inside the Grand Canyon, because that's when the Nibiru sent that energy when God or the Bible said, "Let there be light." This is what created the Grand Canyon. This is where the abyss was formed. So just how the planet was revitalized due to from the inception, when the planet was destroyed due to plutonium energy, is going to be destroyed again due to plutonium energy. So, but it's going to be in the form of divine retribution. So when these galactic gods come back, you know what I'm saying, whether it be, you know what I'm saying, from the mothership, or where it be, you know what I'm saying, this is what's going to happen. This is why they're going to have a lot of full disclosure that's going to be taking place on the planet, because everything, you know what I'm saying, is speeding up. So that's why I put out the 7-year tribulation period video from 2023 to 2030. So you're going to see a lot of shit happening during this time. You're going to see a lot of, you know, a lot more extraterrestrial talk. You're going to see a lot more pestilence. You're going to see a lot more desolation. You know what I'm saying? Because we living in a time right now where these beings got to come back to the surface of the planet. So you got the Danakil tribe who live in the surface, who control the intergalactic council, the intergalactic confederation, right? Where the central sun is at. So that also corresponds with the Hopi tribe when you're talking about the Grand Canyon, because they knew the Hopi tribe called them the ant people. They called the Anunnaki, they call them the ant people. So the Hopi prophecy is predicated upon the blue star Kachina. So all this stuff works in symbiotic connection once you understand what's going on. So it's imperative that you understand and utilize this information for utility. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll be back with another one. End of transmission.